Capital Views is sponsored by Northrim Bank, Alaska Oil and Gas Association, ConocoPhillips, and Linden.
I'm Tim Bradner with Legislative Digest, and thanks for joining us on Capitol Views today. And a special welcome to Karen Matthias, the Executive Director of Alaska Metal Mines, the association representing large metal mining producers mines that are operating in Alaska. Welcome today, Karen.
Thanks, Tim. It's great to be here.
Could you tell us, just started out, just what is Alaska Metal Mines and why is it? Uh, what what what's the how is it different from the Alaska Miners Association, for example?
Sure. It's a professional association that represents the large metal mines in Alaska, of which we have 6, and also some of the advanced projects. And we focus exclusively on state regulatory and legislative issues, and also providing information to the public about mining in Alaska. Alaska Miners Association is a broader organization that covers coal and sand and gravel and exploration and contractors in addition to the big ones. But we work
And
very closely together.
yes, I know that. Karen, could you maybe walk us around the state as to what some of the larger mines are, what they produce? And
Sure. I mentioned 6. There's 2 in Southeast, Greens Creek and Kensington, 2 in the interior. Delta Junction area has Pogo, and then Fort Knox, just outside of Fairbanks. And the 5th is Red Dog up in the northwest area. And the most exciting thing is that last year a large mine opened up, also in the interior, which is the Manh Choh project, which is just off the Alaska Highway near Tetlin. They produce gold. Altogether, they produce gold, silver, zinc, lead, and also germanium, which is one of the critical minerals that is so important to both the military and defense industries in the United States, but also for construction, manufacturing, and other things that are important to the economy.
now the germanium is mixed in with ore. And which mines have germanium? Um,
Up in northwestern Alaska.
Red Dog. I thought, doesn't Greens Creek have a small amount of critical minerals mixed in with the ore, or is it mainly?
Greens Creek is a polymetallic, so they have currently they produce silver, gold, lead, zinc, and some copper. There's also other metals in the concentrate, but it may not be enough to be economically feasible, so it's not really counted as part of their production.
And concentrate is what's made at the mine. The ore is crushed and made into a kind of like a powder, and then shipped there. From there, it goes to the smelter where the metal is refined out.
Correct. In the case of Pogo, Manh Choh, and Fort Knox, they pour a doré bar, so one of those wonderfully photogenic pieces of gold that then get shipped out for further refining. But the other mines produce a powdery concentrate that goes to a smelter for that extra work.
And for example, I guess Red Dog has a concentrate that goes to their smelter in British Columbia.
They have a smelter in British Columbia, and that is one of the smelters that they use. It's not the only one.
Hmm.
It's a complicated process of sending the different concentrates to the smelters that need that particular type, and it can change from year to year. But obviously, the one in Trail, British Columbia, is very important for the company.
It's also an example of international trade because we export the zinc to British Columbia, and the products then are made and we export it back into the U.S. So it's kind of a very complicated supply and exporting picture. Karen, some of the mines are underground mines and some are surface mines. Maybe you could describe the difference between the two and which ones are rich.
Sure. I'll start with the latter. The underground mines are Pogo and Greens Creek, the surface mine, and Kensington in Juneau. Then the surface mines are Red Dog, Manh Choh, and Fort Knox. Surface mines tend to have a larger visible footprint because they are using a pit to access the ore from which they can then process the material that they're mining. The underground mines tend to have a smaller visible footprint because most of the mining is done literally underground. They have a camp set up, they've got their mill nearby, but most of the actual mining takes place underground. It's a lot more high tech than you think. The idea of miners to a lot of people, really goes back to the old days. But nowadays they've got Wi-Fi enabled. They've got a lot of people on the surface monitoring and making decisions about what happens, as well as people underground using the equipment to access the ore.
Could we ever get to the day where there's automated mining machines that you just turn them loose underground?
I'm not good at predicting future technological developments, but I mean they're already using a lot more technology and even AI to make decisions and process data. So who knows what the future holds?
Yeah. Uh, and the skill sets I think are different between underground and surface mines. As I understand, surface mines they're kind of like, just big pits with heavy equipment. So the skills that are needed are classic truck driving, heavy equipment, whereas underground is very, very technical, very specialized.
I think you'd be surprised at how many very technical jobs you find in both situations. From the decisions that are being made about where exactly you blast and how you access the material, all the way through to how to run the mill properly and do the processing. And then there's of course the environmental side with a lot of technical expertise going into monitoring the water and making sure that water quality and air quality are within all of the allowances that are permitted. So, the cool thing about mining, there's 11,400 jobs in Alaska that are in the mining industry. And many of those jobs are things that people wouldn't even associate with mining. It might be running the camp or logistics or accounting or warehouse facilities, but there's all kinds of great jobs in mining.
And they pay well too.
They do. The average salary last year was $133,000 at the large mines.
Gosh, every year when I ask that question, the number gets bigger. For a
Well,
while.
inflation.
Well, more than that, it has to do with, workforce issues and recruiting. And there was a training. There's still some underground uh, training for both surface and
Mhm.
underground
Yep,
mining.
up near
It-
Delta Junction. Yeah. The
And
companies actually provide support and they have pretty much guaranteed jobs on graduation. It's a 6-week course and it teaches people exactly what it's like to mine underground and live in a camp.
yeah, that's good. I'm also struck by the time it takes to bring a mine into production, from exploration to when production starts. And as I recall, uh, the Greens Creek mine and mines in Juneau, they took decades to get into production from the time the first discovery was made and all the permitting.
Indeed. And in fact, the United States is really lagging. A study last year found that we took 29 years on average in the United States to bring a new mine into production, which is bad news when we look at how much more minerals we need for energy issues, for electronics, for just about everything we use in daily life.
Yeah, that it takes a long lead time. Well, we best get busy with these things.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of projects that are looking forward to becoming mines and producing those minerals that are so critical for Americans and Alaskans.
Great. Well, Karen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.